So definition of done is about the development team completing that particular story or feature from the point of view of coding, from the point of view of testing. They tested, unit tested, integration tested, module tested, system tested, blah, blah. Functional testing is done, automation testing is done, end-to-end testing is all done. Performance testing perhaps is required because it's just one feature and it's not the whole system ready. So that's all good. So this particular feature is now ready to be delivered as part of the release. So that's when it can be said as done. And that definition of done, unless you agree, so they discuss as a team, within the team, even before we start the project, that's important. Even before we actually start the sprint, we would actually have the definition of done discussed. And then obviously there are a lot of discussions around, a lot of different points come through. And then all the team members would actually put forth their opinions. And then there's an agreement that is around, and then consensus is reached. And then that would actually be put in black and white, saying that this is the definition of done. So for example, the definition of done for the project that we were talking about, the mobile accessories website, could be that by the end of November, we want to have the release plan says we want to have the catalog ready, functionality ready. So that's the release plan. So with that in place, what we need to work back is by the end of this coming sprint, let's say the next sprint is actually going to finish by November 1st. So we're starting Monday, and then it is 2 weeks roughly. And then we'll say that it would finish off by the 30th, or the end of October. So if that were the case, that is a sprint, the upcoming sprint, and the definition of done for that sprint, considering the release plan of the goal of having the catalog as the main feature to be released, is we'll say that we'll have the items list completed. So catalog, basically the catalog of items. So that list of showing the list of all the items on the catalog in terms of either list view or thumbnail view, that is all that should be done. And then when you click on a particular item, it should open the item details page. So the product details page should be open, which actually shows only that product, the big image of the product, not thumbnail anymore, but big feature of that screen protector, maybe 2 or 3 images, scroll. And then you actually need to have a description of that, and you need to show which phones or the devices that particular feature, that item fits in, all of that details, the reviews of the item, blah, blah. So these are the two definitions of done that should be part of that. So when you say definition of done for the sprint, upcoming sprint, you say that I should have the item list page working and item details page working. Or we can decide the later, the item details page can wait, but at least the item list page should work, and you should be able to actually show and toggle between the list view, the grid view. You should be able to toggle between the thumbnail view, and you should actually, when you click on the row, it should be opening the details page, just that much. So this should be done. This is done. So the definition of done is these 3 things must be done. When you say done, it should be developed, it should be done in coding, it should be tested. The unit testing has to be done. Integration testing has to be done on the server. It should be ready for the customer to have a look at it. The product owner should look at it. So it should be deployed on the server, on at least the development server. Right? So we were talking about development server, test server, and production server, right? So those 3 environments: development environment, testing environment, where you test, where you actually kind of do all kinds of things. It's working fine. A/B testing, everything could be done on that. And then your production or the live environment, where you actually put it for your customer. So the definition of done for this one, for this sprint, could be just the item list page to be developed, tested, and ready and deployed on the development environment. So at least the product owner could have a look at it. So that's your definition of done. That can be one of the examples of that. But make it sure that your definition of done is actually agreed upon even before we start the sprint on Monday. So by today, the end of today, Friday, all of us need to agree on this one and say commit to this, right? Because we need to, by this time, in fact, we should have estimated how much effort it would take to complete the items list page, what is involved, what is the size of that page, what is the scope of that work, how much effort is involved in designing, in having database, in pulling the data from the database and showing it on the front end. All these things, discussions should have happened, and we should have estimated, we should have come up with the stories. And we should say that, okay, roughly it takes about 70 story points for this piece of work for this sprint. and our capacity, the sprint velocity or capacity is basically 75 points. So we've got about roughly 3 developers, and we can actually achieve roughly about, we've got 75. So we can achieve this kind of a thing. That sense of comfort and confidence is what we should have by today, because we're going to start the sprint on Monday. So the sprint planning is already done. For example, today or yesterday, we had a sprint planning session. We discussed all these, and then we have got the definition of done clearly specified. Obviously, it was discussed, and we all agreed to that. We committed ourselves to that, and that's part of the sprint plan. So on Monday, the sprint is starting, so we all are good with that. And this done as what I was saying is this example I've already just discussed. It could mean that we complete the coding, which includes the HTML, for example, in this case of the site, the website, e-commerce website. We should write the front-end coding, the HTML. We should also have the coding to get the data from the database and show this. So there's some kind of back-end coding as well involved, perhaps. And then the code should have actually got the completed the acceptance testing as well. So it should meet the acceptance testing. It should also address all the acceptance criteria given when then the scenarios mentioned in the stories. It should meet all the acceptance criteria. Plus, it should also have the code review done by the senior architect, for example, of the team, and they should give the sign off saying, yes, this code is good quality, we can go ahead. So all of this must be done by the 30th of October, for example, so that we can finish the sprint and then move on to the next one. So that's the